Hey, Daniel, the link that I'm getting is not working.
You're in the session with us right now.
No, I know, but my wife is trying to log on from the link that we had, and it says invalid.
Okay. Okay, I'll send you a link, but we're live now, so we'll jump into the presentation. All right. Okay, hello everyone. My name is Dr. Daniel Kelly. I am the Academic Director for Graduate Programs for the Preston Robert Tisch Institute for Global Sport. Today's Black History Month Leadership Series, we're spotlighting Rodney Wallace, sports analyst, motivational speaker, entrepreneur. Mr. Rodney Wallace is a bilingual sports analyst, former professional soccer player, motivational speaker, entrepreneur. He has appeared on Fox Sports, CBS, ESPN, as well as commercials from major companies like AT&T and Etihad Airways. Born in Costa Rica, Rodney moved to the United States at the age of 9. He overcame all adversity to become an NCAA Champion, MLS Cup Champion, MLS Comeback Player of the Year, Brasil Serie A Player, Liga Nos Player, and Costa Rican National Team Player, in which he appeared at the highest level in the 2018 FIFA World Cup. Rodney, thanks for joining us. All right. Additionally, we have my colleague at the Preston Robert Tisch Institute for Global Sport, Dr. Brandon Brown, who's a clinical associate professor at the NYU Tisch Institute for Global Sport. Dr. Brown is also our brand marketing expert, and we're glad to have him join us today as well.
Glad to be here, Dr. Kelly.
All right. As we jump in for our first question for this series, for Rodney, during your career, you played for 4 MLS franchises as well as internationally in the Brasil Serie A and Liga Nos. What did you learn about this during your career journey?
So, yeah, it was a long journey. It went by extremely fast, but there was a lot of learning that I was able to do, a lot of reflecting too, now that I'm done. So I learned that every single scenario, every single team that I went to, every different city I went to, I learned a lot through the community. And the more that I connected with the community, the more I learned about the way of life, specifically, let's say when I played for DC United, when I went to Portland, when I went to Portugal. So in order for me to really embody what it was like to be a professional in those environments, I had to dig deeper than just the team environment. And for me, it involved the city, it involved the communities, and being able to connect with real life organizations, real life people, making genuine connections that ultimately led me to be more comfortable in a situation within the locker room, within the team. And that was just the way that I was able to grow.
Rodney, it sounds fantastic. And again, from my perspective, I just want to say thank you on the behalf of all of us for being here. If we can, let's just get into a little bit of your background. I know that you moved on over to the United States, I believe at age 9, I think it is.
Yes.
Tell us about that transition. What was the transition like? And if you can, how has that transition, how has the move kind of shaped your outlook today and some of the things that you've done today?
So that was a pretty heavy transition. I was 9 years old. My mom got a job. Well, my mom got transferred from her job to Washington, D.C. So we moved to Rockville, Maryland. So that's basically where I was raised. And that was a transition that allowed me to basically become it shaped me who I am now, because I was basically taken from one place. I had to go to the complete opposite side of the world, and then now I'm having to fend for myself, and that taught me a lot about how I would take in information. So I only spoke Spanish. All the other kids spoke English. My teacher spoke English. The people that were around me spoke English. So I had to quickly take in the information and figure out how I could adapt. And for me, adapting was a key to my success, because I went into many different environments and I was quickly able to adapt. And I think that had to do a lot with the fact that I moved from Costa Rica at such a young age, had to learn English, had to figure out how to go about life in a whole different place. So that was the beginning of me really enjoying somebody else's culture and getting used to different things in different places, which ultimately is, as you can see throughout my career, that's what occurred. I moved from different cities to different countries, different continents, and I had no problem going from one place to the next.
Speaking of going one place to the next, man, it seemed to have worked. You won an NCAA championship, played for the MLS Cup. You played for the 2018 World Cup team for Costa Rica. So you've had a lot of success. Tell us, if you can, about your success. If you can, define the keys to success. If you can give us kind of like a short blurb on it, if possible.
Yeah, so that was, for example, the NCAA championship. It wouldn't have happened if I wasn't already a champion in my youth. If I wasn't a champion within my club team, if I wasn't a champion with my high school team. So it was all a process for me to get to a higher place. And from a child, I knew the feeling of working hard and accomplishing something as winning a championship. And it made me realize that I like that feeling. I like winning, I like competing, and I like to share those feelings and those accomplishments with my teammates, with others that helped me along the ride. So being able to grow from a youth champion to a collegiate champion, and then from a collegiate champion going to the MLS Cup, that was a way of me enjoying that sensation and making lifelong connections, because when you win something, it just bonds you, connects you so well, and it allows you to grow and be a leader. And then ultimately you go from being a champion in one place, you go to being a champion in a different setting, and you bring that same attitude, that mindset to a new setting, and you want those people to experience what you experienced and how you got to the top. So it's contagious to be a champion, because everybody else wants to be in that mindset, but they also want to win, and they want to know what it feels like. And subconsciously, we as champions, we do it by example. So then it's just a snowball effect, and then so everywhere you go, you want to leave a mark. And ultimately, that was how I got from one place to the other. And winning the MLS Cup was special, and now I have those lifelong connections. And then ultimately, that led me to want to go and make the World Cup squad with Costa Rica for 2018 in Russia. And all those things just pile on, and then they mold you and shape you into what you ultimately want to feel moving forward in your life.
And before I hand it over to Dr. Kelly for the next question, so this is something that I didn't even have. So you were a youth champion and a club champion before you became an NCAA champion. Do I have that right?
Yeah. No, I was fortunate enough to play in a really good competitive soccer team, which is how I got through the ranks. And but yes, being a champion is something that I take pride in. I'm not gonna shy away from it. That being a champion is what keeps me motivated. It keeps me humble, because I know that it's not just me who did it. I can't just do it by myself. It's a team sport. But that lasting feeling, that memory, that taste doesn't go away. So everything that you do, you want to do it at your best to ultimately feel as if you've accomplished something with the hard work and with the people around you.
Fantastic, man. I'm going to hand it on over to Dr. Kelly right here, and he's got the next question. But if I was a youth coming up with you, I would have just stayed. Rodney's going to this team, I'm going to that team. Rodney's going to this college, I'm going to Rodney's college.
It wasn't that sweet, though. It wasn't that sweet through all of that. I was cut. I was let go of. I was told that I was this and I wasn't going to make it. And there was a lot of adversity. It didn't just happen overnight, but it's a testament of not giving up and understanding that I had I had a gift and I had a mission early on. And from as early as this moving from Costa Rica, I already had a feeling that there was a purpose for me. There was a purpose for why I went from San Jose, Costa Rica, a neighborhood like Desamparados, to Rockville, Maryland. And then it just kind of made me more aware of, okay, there's a reason why I was taken from there and brought to this place. So why did I come to North America? And then all of a sudden you start to really feel that passion, and the game gave me that passion. I knew in my head that I was going to make it, regardless of what people fed into my ear, like, oh, you should be a doctor, you should be this and that. And I took that information, just as I still take information, but my ultimate goal was to be on that field. So I had to do all the things around that to get there, but it wasn't easy. Don't get it twisted.
All right, before we get to our next questions, I wanted to remind all the attendees that you can leave your own questions in our Q&A feature. And please do that so that we can get to that in about a good 20, 30 minutes. Okay, so Rodney, quick question about your playing career. So
Yeah.
DC United drafted you, Portland Timbers, NYCFC here in New York City, as well as Sporting Kansas City. We're recently honored at the Portland Timbers at the recent MLS Cup. How was that experience with your family to come full circle to being a part of Portland hosting the MLS World Cup for 2020, I think, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it was the MLS Cup. It would have been nice if I was hosting the World Cup. Don't get it wrong either. But no, it was a very, very special moment. And like you said, it was full circle, because after everything that I went through in my career and before my career even started, to get to the point where I'm no longer a player, but here I am in a stadium packed with 30,000 people with my daughter next to me, presenting the game ball between the two teams that I played for. And now those two organizations are in a championship game to win a trophy, to lift something that the same cup that I was able to lift. So honestly, it was unbelievable, because I looked down and my daughter's next to me. And in 2015, she was right next to me when I was holding that cup as a champion. So she might not remember that, but I remember that, and she felt that energy from being on the field again, and she saw the trophy. And so it was full circle, and it was a testament of what my family and I have built together to get to that point. And thank you to both clubs. Thank you to the MLS for allowing me to be a part of that. And it was truly, truly an honor.
Yeah, it's very exciting and very humbling to see you in that position, because I was definitely watching the match.
Right.
Moving forward, talking about your career transition. So you have found success now in the broadcasting lane, which is ideal because of your background, the fact that you are bilingual, and you do have a lot of skills in this format. Speaking further about your transition, what has that been like to sports broadcasting?
So the transition has had its challenges, but at the same time, I like a challenge, and I like to be in a position where it's unexpected, but it feels familiar. It's familiar, but it's unexpected, because I have been around the cameras, I have been on interviews, and I had been in a world where I'm magnified. So I thought to myself, how can I use this to my leverage? How can I use this as my advantage? And in 2013, I tore my ACL, the last game of the Western Conference final match. And so the next season, I was just doing rehab. So I was getting my knee back together, getting my body, getting my mind together. And when you get injured, you learn a lot about yourself. It's just getting injured. It's just another opportunity to figure out what's going on internally and how to overcome that. So I had the opportunity to be a part of the local Fox in Oregon, which they showed the matches, and I was able to have that opportunity to go into the studio and to do match analysis for the Portland Timbers. So I was in a position where I could talk about my team and break down plays that I was used to seeing on the field. Now I'm in the booth, now I'm in the studio talking about these things. And I would say I was young at the time, and at first I shied away from it because it's way bigger than you. It's way bigger than just a player. Now you're in a bigger spotlight and you're representing an organization, you're representing your teammates, you're representing people that are watching and yourself. So at first I kind of shied away from it, but then thinking about it, I said, well, this is an opportunity for me to learn a new skill, to add a new tool to my bag. Why wouldn't I do that? Why would I limit myself? So I ended up going into the studio. Shout out to the guys at Fox there. Nip Krupke, he definitely gave me a great opportunity. So I was able to go to the studio. I did about 8 games throughout the season. It taught me a lot about how to conduct myself in the studio, how to basically get the message across in a timely manner, because you don't have all day to really talk. So I had to make my point early on, had to make sure I was assertive with it, and had to make sure that the audience understood what I was talking about. And it helped me a lot to get through my injury. And I came back that same season and I was able to get MLS Comeback Player of the Year. And that was a testament to not just the work that I was doing off the field in the weight room and on the training ground. It was because I mentally put myself in a situation to succeed. And my mind was something that had to be all intact. It had to be in check, and it had to be in connection with the overall picture. And that was for me to just excel as a person and as a player. So again, that's another full circle, because after all that, I was able to be Comeback Player of the Year. So, and it was an opportunity that was thrown at me through the Portland Timbers. So it was great for them to even pitch that to me, and here we are now. So after all of that, now going into the studio with Fox. But prior to that, I was working with CBS, and CBS was the Nations League Cup, and that was this summer. And I thought about it and I said, you know what, I want to be a part of this. Costa Rica was playing in it, and I wanted to shed some light on my teammates, my friends, the people that I know. And Costa Rica right now is not in a position to be talked about as the best, but that's why I wanted to be there and talk about their strengths and not just their weaknesses, and highlight the players instead of bringing them down. So I was able to do that. And then from appearing there, I was able to get the opportunity to do Gold Cup with FS1. And I went into studio, did the Gold Cup, and I had an amazing experience with Rob Stone. I had a great experience with Alexi Lalas, Stuart Holden, and those guys gave me a lot of good input that made me feel comfortable. And it was another step for me I kind of grew from that. And then I used the same leverage, the same versatility from me growing up, from me coming from Costa Rica, and I didn't limit myself. And I said, I speak Spanish too. Let's take this from ESPN Sports. Let's take it to Deportes. So then I was doing the MLS Cup games, the playoffs, and now I'm in the studio, and I'm not just talking in Spanish. I'm not analyzing in English. I'm now analyzing in Spanish. So I look at myself and I'm looking around, and I'm now, I say to myself, I'm now in the studio and I'm doing this in Spanish. So it felt good to just coming from Costa Rica, from Desamparados, playing soccer on the street, to being in the studio with a suit on and some nice shoes on. It's not everybody gets that opportunity. So when I take those opportunities, I take them with pride.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And I want to really focus in on that point, doing from where you started and everything coming full circle, we're starting to see a theme emerge, right? We're seeing that you were in Costa Rica, coming to the US, speaking primarily Spanish, to now learning English, to of course transitioning to being a broadcaster and broadcasting at first in English, and now transitioning over to Fox Deportes to do your broadcast in Spanish. And so
Right.
With everything coming full circle, how has it been on you as far as like transitioning, building the new skill sets? And I won't say reinventing yourself, but I'll say more so like getting back to your roots with this new opportunity. Okay.
Yeah. So I like what you said again with it's not really reinventing myself, because people think that reinventing themselves is they have to become a different person. But for me, it's more about being even more of an authentic you. So I had to what we call in the soccer world, flip the switch. So now I had to flip the switch or change my chip and go from an English speaking analyst to diving deep into being a Costa Rican. So I basically just reprogrammed myself into being that Costa Rican kid talking about the game that he loves. And that helps me a lot with the way that I see the game. And it helps me a lot with the things that I say and how I express myself, because going from English to Spanish is two different cultures, two different ways to analyze the game, even two different studios. So the people around you it's a different environment. Now you have a more Latin environment where it feels more intimate. It's a lot different than a bigger studio in with Fox Sports. So you get into that warm Latin feeling, and you embody it and you run with it. So transitioning it's what I've been doing honestly my whole life. So it wasn't so difficult. It was more about how I wanted to project the message and how I wanted to represent my people and let others know, let younger kids that it's okay to be from a different country, and it's okay to grow up in a Hispanic household, speak English, and use both of those to really leverage yourself and put yourself in better positions. Because growing up, at times, which was completely normal as a kid, sometimes you feel a little bit of some sort of shame of who you are, because you see society labeling Hispanics as this in America, or minorities. So at those, sometimes instead of me growing from that, it would shrink me. So now I'm in a position where I can really show what we are all capable, and it's much more than just speaking Spanish. It's really being proud of your culture, your upbringing, and using that to the best of your abilities.
Okay, great. So before I pass it over to Dr. Brown, I do have one final question on this topic. A lot of our students are interested in pursuing a sports broadcasting or a media career. And you mentioned some good advice about being authentic to who they truly are. Taking that further, how can they maintain their authenticity as they seek to transition into the cutthroat world of sports media, and how competitive it is and how volatile it is?
Yeah, it's an interesting world inside of those lines. I would say that it is competitive because everyone thinks that you're gonna go take their spot, and people are programmed to, when they see somebody stepping in or somebody's coming in new, they tend to try to protect some sort of whatever it is that they have. They want to protect it instead of spreading it. And just me walking in there with the mentality of, I know that I'm not going to be spot on right away completely. There are things that I have to learn. There are things that I'm still learning, and then there are things that I'm always going to be learning. It's okay to make those mistakes, and it's okay to be completely vulnerable, but make sure you put yourself out there, and don't shy away from who you are. You're not in a place to become somebody else. you can idolize your favorite analyst on TV, your favorite broadcasters, your favorite actors and hosts, but you're not them. So how do you take the information that they're giving or the things that you like about them and now bring those into your bag of tools? How can you add those things to who you are instead of completely embodying what somebody else is? Because that's not gonna work out. And trust me, I've gone through that, and I'm still there are things about me that are still in an in between where I have more to give, and sometimes I just hold back instead of just giving the facts how they should be given from my perspective, which is what people are looking to do, instead of shying away and thinking that because I'm TV, I should fit into this other persona. So make sure that if you have the opportunity to do so, express yourself obviously in a respectful and in a way that you represent the network well, but at the same time, what they want from you is for you to be yourself and not really shy away from what you have to say, because that's why they picked you and that's why you're getting the opportunity.
It's such excellent advice, Rodney. I think not just for obviously that particular niche in broadcasting, but obviously in that this is a Black History Month event, maybe we could almost kind of turn that to minorities and kind of being authentic to who you are and being yourself to kind of get you further along, just in life in general. I love hearing it. I have two more questions, then I think we can open up to the crowd. And it's just a reminder to the crowd that you can ask questions in the chat. I think we'd be remiss if we didn't touch upon COVID issues. Just talk to us a little bit about how COVID has possibly stifled some of the things that you are doing and any type of pivots that you had made due to some restrictions that have to do with COVID.
Yeah. That's COVID was definitely, and it still is, a learning experience in the way that we have all been operating and the way that personally I try to pivot through these so-called challenges. I call them learning opportunities. But 2020, my wife and I launched our own CBD company, Rewind, and that was January 1st, 2020. And we really weren't completely aware of what the pandemic was going to bring. We didn't really know. It wasn't a pandemic yet. So, we had high expectations and we knew that we were going to face some challenges, but we had a vision and we knew that we were going to get there just because of the fact that we had done our research and because we believe in our message, and as a company, we're here for the people and not just for a quick buck. We want to actually listen to our customers and make the best product available. But the pandemic actually gave us an opportunity to be bigger than we thought we could be. And that's because companies that were already in that market, they went through a very nice honeymoon stage, and then all of a sudden they get hit hard, and now they have to figure out how to bounce back from that. Instead, for us, we came into the game when it was at its hardest, and it made us strong as a company, and it made us more aware of why other companies weren't able to survive, and that was because their intentions weren't the right ones. So when you're your back is against the wall and you had a lot of success, you're not used to feeling that, so you just crumble. We were in a position where we didn't start out with our backs against the wall. We started out basically in an environment that was tough, but we were the ones that were able to survive and actually learn from the mistakes that others were making. So we actually gained from that experience, because now the road was opening up for us, and we use that to our advantage. And then we use that now in the way that we live, where is now as a minority owned company, it's a Black owned business, it's a woman owned business, now we're in a position to really cater to a wider range of customers because of the lessons that we learned from being a company that was a pandemic raised baby. Basically, that's what it is. That our outlook is just completely different. So instead of crumbling down, we just pivoted, went around, and we used that to ultimately become as successful as we want to be, and learn from that and gain more.
You've been giving us a ton of reasons behind your success for Rewind, for your on the field efforts, for your broadcasting efforts. How important are mentors to you? And in particular, if you could talk to us about the importance of mentors for minorities, whether on the field, off the field, or in business.
Yeah, so mentors were, and there still are, a big reason for why I want to grow and I want to be better, because I grew up analyzing the way that people moved, the way that people operated, and I took things that I liked from different people and experiences, and I added them to myself, and I still preach that. And I would say that experiences are also mentors. So don't shy away from the understanding that situations that you go through, those are mentors, because from a hardship, as an example, COVID, it's something bigger grew from that. So situations are mentors, but growing up and being able to take advantage of going to University of Maryland, now I have my former coach Sasha Sarowski as a mentor, because he cared about his players more than just on the field. He wanted to build strong and intelligent, well-rounded human beings. So I took from that, and I saw how hard he worked for his college program to get to a national championship, to get to an ACC championship, and all while making sure that we were in the classroom, making sure we were respectful, making sure we were disciplined. So I liked that, and I wanted to take that and go into the next. So then I go to DC United, and because of those experiences I had in Maryland, now I'm at DC United as a better player, as a better person, and I'm just more aware of the respect that I need to have for players, for staff, for people that work at the stadium, and how to treat people. So then I go to DC United, and I'm looking at the way that my teammates operate, and some teammates that are older in their later stage of their careers already have businesses. They have, they're into real estate, they're into passions away from the field, they're on airplanes, they're reading books, and they're writing papers. And at first I was confused. I was like, why are these guys doing all of this when we have to go fly, I don't know how many thousand miles to play a game? Aren't they supposed to be focused on that? And then I started to just hang around those older guys and learn about what they were doing. And they were basically setting themselves up for for the next phase of their career, and how to really stack some money and grow businesses and elevate themselves away from the field. So those are the guys that I wanted to hang around and learn from those experiences. Went to Portland, and that was when I was on my own and away from the DC DMV area, and I was learning from teammates just different things, and I had different mentors. In Portland, I had John Spencer, who gave me the advice to always remain your true self and never really switch up who you are because of a situation. And what I'm talking about was, I was starting for a big period of the season, and all of a sudden he takes me out of the lineup, and now I'm not starting. And I'm a positive person. I say good morning to everyone, shake everyone's hand, and dap everybody up, even the coaches, everybody, because for me it's a family. And then now when he started to take me off the field, I remember one morning I went in and I saw him, and I just didn't even say good morning. I just kind of went past him or went the other way. And so he grabbed me and he was like, "What's the problem?" And he was like, Are you upset because you're not playing? Is that why you're not saying good morning to me? And I'll always remember this, and it's helped me throughout the rest of my career. He said, just because you're not playing right now, it doesn't mean that that our relationship has changed. It doesn't mean that that I genuinely don't care for you, and that's not who you are. So always make sure that you remain the same as if you are, whether you're playing or whether you're not playing, because people will sense the fact that you are driven by emotions instead of driven from what's really inside. And to this day, no matter what the situation was in the locker room, or how I observe things to be, how I basically make things up in my head, it doesn't matter. It's really about staying true to yourself and making sure that you're secure, and you're aware that those things are secondary factors. The one thing that remains is basically who you are. So then I went into my next stage, and I met wonderful people. I met people that I didn't like, and those again were mentors, because I took a lot and I deleted a lot. So mentorship is something that will always be a part of. I'm in a position where I truly understand what being a mentor is to others, and it speaks with actions and it speaks with words, but making sure that I'm there for other people, specifically also the Black youths that may not have the understanding that they're capable of doing all of these things that I'm doing. It's vital to me. I love to go and I love to speak and I love to educate to young men, women, to young beings of color, because ultimately I want all of us to win, and for us to win, it means that we need to educate each other and we need to learn from them, but also let them know that everything that I'm doing right here is something that you guys can do at the same time, at an earlier stage of life, now that the world is changing.
Okay, great. I'll jump back in. Thank you, Rodney. That was fantastic, especially the John Spencer story and the insight to really give us into what it means to be authentic and to understand that even if it's not working out professionally, to still be true to who you are and to maintain your values and your perspective, which was fantastic.
Thank you.
At this time, we're going to open it up to the student questions and the attendees questions. We'll start with a good one from somebody that I think both of us know, Shafiq Simo. He wrote, Mr. Wallace, you've obviously had many ups and downs in this wonderful journey you're on. What advice do you have for when you hit those pitfalls in your career, whether it's injury or whether it's being cut from a team? What kind of remedies that have helped you to find your strength and confidence?
Great question, Shafiq Simo. It's my guy. Thank you for joining, by the way. Appreciate you being here. Shafiq's also another one of my mentors. I met Shafiq when I was playing at University of Maryland. At the time, he was an agent, but he would come around because agents do come to college games. But he made it. He would basically took on a different role, more than an agent, and was kind of just there as just a regular human being, and that's as another. It's a Black man that you look at and you see his success at a young age, and you want to take away from that. So eventually he wasn't even my agent. We just became friends because I ended up getting drafted to DC. So it all worked out, and now we're in this room, which is it just shows a lot of growth from all of us. But those setbacks and things that happened in my life that you are also a big part of, those were things that calloused me, and those are things that shaped me and made me even hungrier. And I believe that then the being hurt or being left out, and sometimes not having the consistency that I thought I deserved from the work that I was putting in, those things allowed me to get better and just have a chip on my shoulder and letting people. I was out to prove something, and that's to prove that I was worthy of being where I was, and it was a constant reminder whenever I felt down or I sunk down into depression, like I would tell myself, you're here for a reason. And I still do that to this day. There's a reason why you are in this situation. There's a reason for why you got hurt in 2013, why you weren't able to be in the 2014 World Cup roster for Costa Rica. And that was probably because it built me to get comeback player of the year that year. It built me to be able to go into a studio and broadcast. And then it built me to move on and be comfortable on TV in 2017 when I was with NYCFC. We got knocked out of the playoffs and I was in the MLS studio. And those things built me to be here in this room with all of you today. So make sure you use those opportunities as lessons and not losses.
All right, thank you. That was fantastic. And then moving on to our next question is from Fadi Hamdi, who is one of our current graduate students in the MS in Global Sport program. She's asking more about your broadcasting transition from English to Spanish. And could you provide some examples about the different information and different perspectives that you've had to bring to your new role with Fox Deportes?
Yeah, great question. Well, first of all, at first I was a bit nervous because I'm going into a completely different beast. The games that I grew up watching as a child and maturing into life in Spanish were completely different. It's a lot faster. The way that they narrate games has a lot of it's a completely different emotion, a different feeling, and growing up you compare the two always. Oh, I don't want to listen to this guy. I want to listen to this guy. Oh, you watch the game in Spanish, you watch the game in English. So I was very mindful of that once I got to the point where it was on me, and I just took away what I liked from the guys that spoke English or the people that spoke English. And I took away what I liked and what I didn't like from the Spanish world. And I took away from who I was as a person. And what I do is I try to relate to personal situations. So I had to dig deep into how I was, for example, when I would hang out with my peers that in the locker room that spoke English. And then I would have to switch over and interact with my peers that spoke Spanish. So I that back and forth, I just used it and I said, this is how I interact or go about things with teammates that speak English, and this is how I relate messages, and this is how I communicate with my guys that speak Spanish, and two different cultures and two different ways of looking at things. So I said, how can I use that as an example to go about analyzing in Spanish and analyzing in English, and ultimately it's a good tool to use, just figuring out personal situations that you can relate to and become that, just be that, and just move and glide and not really be stuck in a place between, and don't freeze up, just glide, be yourself, figure out what you like and what you didn't like, and figure out how is it that I can use those examples and those experiences from my life and project them onto the audience on TV.
All right, great. Good context. Moving to our next question, we're going to transition a bit from your broadcasting days to your playing days. Okay. Question from Michael Anderer is about your experience as a professional athlete with clubs trying to re-sign you or not signing you, and your ability to navigate the tough aspect of professional sports and professional business when it comes to contracts.
Yeah, so amazing question. It has a lot of substance to it because people forget that it's a business, and athletes are naive at first on the business aspect of this game. Fortunately, we're in a day and age now where we have mentors and examples that we can follow of what the teams can do to you and how you can get on top of that before it even happens. So sports is a business, so you can give your heart and soul to the club that you thought that they wanted to throw the kitchen sink at you, and you thought that this club they wanted you for forever and you were going to stay there for a long time until you get hurt. Let's say that, right? You get hurt and now you're not on the field. Now they have to figure out, are they going to continue with your contract? Are you going to be the same when you come back? And then you start to see the reality of it, and you say, okay, so these guys are willing to trade me when I'm just coming back from an injury. When and this is a specific example, when I was in DC, I broke my ankle 2010. My contract, I believe, had 2 more years or 1 more year and an option. And I'm coming back from a broken ankle. And that off season, I didn't even get to play the second half of the season. That off season, I get traded to Portland, and I'm thinking, okay, like, I didn't even have a chance to recover from my injury or prove myself that I could come back and get the job done and be the guy that you guys asked me to be. So Ben Olsen went from my teammate to my coach, and he brought me into the office to trade me. And this is one of the most genuine parts about the game, which doesn't happen often, but it's there. They're genuine people that care about you. And as a friend and as a mentor, because I grew up watching this guy, he was even my youth coach when I was growing up. He went from my youth coach to my teammate to my coach. And as a coach, he was the one that sent me to Portland. And he said, right now you are in a position where you're comfortable being in DC, being with your family, your quote unquote friends at the time, and you have a lot of comfort. You play in the stadium, and then you can invite all these people to the game, and then you can go out and you're not really maximizing your potential. So he said, I'm going to send you to Portland. And he's like, this is the best thing that I can do for you, trust me. And at first I was like, yeah, okay, I get it. Whatever, man. And it was the best decision the best thing that could have happened to me was to get out of DC and be on my own in Portland. And he was right. I mean, from then on, my career took off, and I became a footballer. I became a real player. I became somebody that was relied upon on a new franchise with a new stadium, brand new fans, packed 25,000 people cheering you on. And I was like, yo, Ben, to this day, remember when you cut me, bro? And we still talk about that. I remind him every time, just to let him know that he was the one that not only changed my life, but just to let him know that he made that call. But it's a business. And then you realize, again, when your contract it's time for your contract up, you have 6 months before you're free. The club might want to say, okay, we're going to give you this much money 6 months before, so you sign with them and they secure you, because otherwise you can say no and you can just leave for free. And leaving for free means that you can explore an option that you want to explore, instead of them trading you or selling you, and maybe you don't have that opportunity to go where you want to go. And a lot has changed with CBAs, but basically making sure, my advice through all of this is making sure that you know about the game in the side of economy and the side of business, because, and also your personal rights as a player in the league, because there's a lot of tricks that they can pull. No matter how much they show love, there's a lot of tricks, because at the end of the day, for them, it's about how they keep their numbers clean, how they keep the wallet nice, because it's money, and I want more players and pay them the least amount of money so I can have the best roster. And quote unquote, they want to keep everybody happy, but they can't. 2015 in Portland. We won the championship. I scored the winning goal for us to get that star in our jersey. And immediately I wanted more because it was my contract year. So that same day, the GM was trying to sign me, like at the team party. He was trying to get me and my family to sign papers. And I was like, I don't want this. I want more. I think I deserve more. I had a great year. In my head, I deserve more. And I didn't even want anything crazy. I just wanted a little bit more. And for them, it must have been a lot more, or they didn't rate me that high. And ultimately, I didn't sign the deal that they wanted to give me because I wanted to, first of all, I wanted to live my dream and go to Europe or go to a different league. And second of all, my ego got in the way too, because I decided that I wanted to move away from this club now that this isn't happening. They're not giving me this. And ultimately it led to that, we weren't agreeing to terms. I left through the front door, all love to the club, but I said, I want to go and I'm going to go to Europe. So I ended up signing in Portugal. It wasn't a crazy amount of money difference, but it made me feel respected and wanted because I was going for what I thought I should have deserved. And that led to a bunch of decisions that changed. So now I'm here. If I didn't go to that team in Europe, if I would have stayed in Portland, I could have been comfortable with the new contract, and who knows where I'd be. But I'm glad I made that jump.
You know, we have time for two more questions, and from Harry Kim, he actually asked that same question. Let's talk about your days in the Primeira Liga in Portugal. And so he wanted to know more about the Portuguese league and how different it was from MLS, which you kind of touched upon, including the factors such as playing style, environment, culture, food, and language. How did you overcome the hard transition as a footballer?
Going to Portugal was tough. I came in the winter window where teams are looking for reinforcements, either to maintain the spot they are on the table or to get them out of relegation zone or get them to win a championship. And I went to Aroca, which was a small team. And at the time they were undefeated. I don't know how many matches. They were in the top 4 of the league. So they were trying to compete for a Champions League spot. And I ended up going to that team. And in my head, I just came off of a championship. So I'm going there to play, but I get to that team and it's just completely different because now the coach has to make a decision where to play me or keep the same team that has been winning for that amount of games. And if you add or take away some players, some different things, it could knock off the chemistry, and now things get thrown off, and now you, instead of going from 4th, now you're in the 6th spot. So I would go there and I would play one game, and then the next 2 matches I'm coming off the bench, or I'm not even playing. I'm watching the game from the stands. And it was a reality. It was a cutthroat reality of what the difference is within at the time MLS for me to going to Europe and just being in a complete different environment, going to play against FC Porto. That was my first game when I had just gotten there. And I remember going up to that stadium, and I was living a European dream, just playing against Porto. But it was hard work. It wasn't it's sweet to be on the field, but what happened to me off the field, where I had to get used to the food. I had to get used to the way that they ate, and the way that we traveled by bus a lot, and I was used to flying. Now I'm in a bus, and it's different. It's different schedules. The weather was different. I was in a place where I was always cold and it was rainy. Keep in mind, I'm coming from Portland, but it was just different. Yeah, no, it was just a whole different energy. The trainings were almost more intense than than the game, because the players, you felt like the players were piling up on you because you were the new guy, and they kind of rally against the foreigner at times because they think that they know that there's somebody's gonna get their spot taken, so everyone feels threatened. So you could try as hard as you wanted, but you're fighting against you were going up against a whole tier of players. Going into a different league in a different country, you try to find people that you can relate to, and those were the guys there that were Spanish speakers. They came from Venezuela, they came from Paraguay, Argentina, and those are the players that I relied upon at first because we spoke Spanish, and they were giving me the information about who's who, what's this, how does this work, and it was difficult. The coach didn't really like me. I thought in my mind, I was like, this guy just doesn't like me. And at the end of the day, he had to do what he had to do to make sure that he was going to a Europa League or Champions League.
Yeah.
But he would threaten me, saying that he's gonna. I was like, this isn't America. This is in North America. This isn't America. I'm gonna say, if you want to go back there, you can go back there. This is Europe. And I was like, okay, man. Like, I get it. I'm doing I'm killing it. I'm doing my best, but it just wasn't. It didn't seem like it was enough. So then I got blessed by going to Brazil not too long after that, and those experiences made me just a harder player and a more skilled player, and I was able to go there and kill it.
Yeah. All right, we have one more question to come from the attendees and the students from Nate Black. If you could go back to your start as a pro soccer player, so like let's say if you go back to being drafted by DC United, what's one lesson that you would tell your younger self as to kind of look back and say, hey, here's some advice for your career, for your professional transition to broadcasting? What would you look back and tell them as they're starting a career as the number 6 draft pick?
I would tell them focus on the little details, as physically being at the gym, no matter what it is, just working on your body. Stay after training more than you think you should to just sharpen up some skills. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to stay for an extra 30 minutes. It can be 10 minutes, it can be 20, but just go and sharpen up whatever it is that you want to fix. The diet is so important. Towards the end of my career, that's when I started to really take care of myself, stopped eating meat, and that helped me a lot. But these are things that I know that if I would have done them earlier on, it would have been a different situation for me, because diet and sleep, they tend to help prevent injuries, and injuries cost you time, and time costs you money, and things like that. So all those little factors are huge. And in a business perspective, start your projects, what you're passionate, when you're really good at off the field. Don't be scared to do those things. Actually, let those things out to the world. Let people see what you're about off the field. Don't worry about if they think it's a distraction to your career. Use those things to empower you and make you into a stronger weapon all around, because you're more than just a soccer player. You're also, if you're talented at something else, use that to make you even a better, more confident person, which will make you a better player. So don't shy away from what you're great at off the field, and use that as another stepping stone to getting where you want to get.
Oh, it's fantastic advice. Good insight, good perspective. Rodney Wallace, we want to thank you for joining us today. Dr. Brown, thank you as well for being a part of this Black History Month panel for our leadership series. We look forward to everyone out there joining us for our next set of Chalk Talks. We'll begin next week. And in the meantime, stay safe, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Thank you, both of you. I appreciate you, Dr. Kelly.
Thank you,
Brown.
Robbie.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Rodney.
Okay, take care. Cool.
All right, that was great.
That was great. Thank you. That was good.
Everything out, and I think we're all set.
Nah, we got it all. And the timing was good too. Perfect timing.
Yeah, that's perfect.
You did a great job at hosting that. Thank you, bro.
No, thanks. No problem, man.
All right, we'll link. We'll talk.
All right. Take care.
Bye.